This podcast is sponsored by Tusk, a continuity of business solution for industries that struggle with traditional banking. Check them out on the web at tusk.network. The Rob McNealy program is the nexus of cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, and entrepreneurship. Now, welcome to the program. Hey, welcome to the show. I am Rob McNealy, and today I'm talking to Nick Morley, the CEO of Action Coin. He is up in Canada, so I want to say, hey, thanks for coming. How you doing there, Nick?
Good. Thanks for having me, Rob.
So we've been talking online. We're both members of the Aircoins Alliance, so we're in the Aircoins app. I think that's how we originally met. And why I wanted to talk to you today, because you're like one of the projects that seems to be surviving this crypto winter, but more interestingly, you seem to actually be doing something, unlike so many crypto projects out there. And people that have been listening to my podcast or watching these videos, they'll see that I'm kind of bearish on a lot of crypto startups in general, just because there's been so many bad ideas and scams and mismanagement and stuff. But so I really like to say, I think crypto is still the future. I think that even though I think this next year is going to be rough in the crypto world, I think we're really on the edge of a paradigm shifting thing with crypto. And I want to highlight projects in this podcast the best I can that actually are seeming to be run well and well managed. So before we get into talking about Action Coin, can you give the listeners and viewers a little bit of a background on you personally? How did you get involved with crypto in beginning of this project?
Yeah, so Rob, I've been in business, self-employed, largely for most of the past 25 years. I've been involved in a number of different businesses. The primary one is a web hosting and development company. So we provide shared hosting, email hosting, virtual private servers to about 200 business clients, mostly in this region in British Columbia. I've been involved in hospitality businesses, farming, if you can believe that. We had a small farm. I gave that a go for a while. Various other web projects, pet projects that I've been involved in. And then around 2014, I started becoming interested in cryptocurrencies, started following that, made a little bit of money investing in some cryptocurrencies. And over the next couple of years, I just continued to follow it, and I was thinking of something that, I recognized that the space was up and coming. It was a disruptive technology with huge potential. And I just kept trying to think of something that I could do that, a project in that space. And hence I came up with Action Coin in the spring of 2017, about 20 months ago, just about.
So, a couple things that I like hearing about that is, one, you actually admit you haven't been in crypto for 30 years. So many of these crypto founders, if you go to their LinkedIn profiles, it's like they're 45 years old and all they've been doing is crypto for 5 years. And there's nothing else. It's like, okay, were you driving a taxi before this project, or were you a dry cleaner? To me, I don't trust people that have scrubbed their pre-crypto businesses and their experiences, because to me, it seems like they're hiding something. And this is just such a new space. It's like, I don't expect really anybody to have a lot of experience in crypto, because it's just so new. Even on the developer side, there's just not that many developers that have any actual experience. I mean, if you think about it, like launching a chain versus launching a contract on another project like an Ethereum token, those are two different skill sets, writing a contract versus launching a chain. And if you look at the actual standalone chains out there, there's hundreds. I mean, there's not that many, and if you look at how many developers are needed for that, there's just hardly any developers that have that kind of experience. So I like people like you that didn't scrub their LinkedIn profile, that, also is an entrepreneur. I think in this space, there's a lot of developer-led projects, and I don't necessarily have an issue with developers leading projects, but you still have to understand business, and having some experience running a business, I think, is critical, especially with a lot of the big raises that you saw with last year with, or the end of beginning of this year and the year before, is that you have so many large raises, and I think you've seen this. You've been to a lot of the conferences, and there's a Lambo every 5 feet out there, and to me, part of the problem is if you don't have business experience, you're not necessarily going to be a good steward with investors' money. And I think we've seen that a lot with a lot of misappropriation of funds coming through some of these projects. So kudos to you for being one of the good guys, so to speak, coming into the space, because that it's the space you want to be in. And I think with our project, it was the same way with Tusk. We knew we wanted to be in the space. And so we spent the last year, after we launched our token, really we spent the last year learning more than anything about the space, about crypto, and where the opportunities really are in crypto. And so you got my utmost respect for that. So if for a little bit of background, let's talk about Action Coin. You said you've been in this about 20 months now. What is Action Coin?
So the original idea was, I kind of refer to it as a cross between Groupon and a frequent flyers program, or rewards program. Up in Canada here, we have something called Air Miles, which I've been collecting for well over 20 years. And I love it, but there are some restrictions, and in that you have to deal with your earnings. You're forced to deal with companies that they say you can deal with. You can't, for example, transfer your earnings to a family member or a friend. You can purchase more miles if you want to get that particular reward, but that's the only way that you, aside from collecting them through purchases, that's the only way that you can accumulate them. So I recognize that crypto could remove a lot of those barriers potentially once our customer has earned their points or their miles, or in this case, Action Coin. They're free to do with them as they wish. They can keep them, they can give them to their friends or family, they can sell them in a cryptocurrency exchange, or I should say, they could trade them for Bitcoin or Ethereum, or they could use them towards a reward from one of our vendors.
So you got into the market, you say 20 months ago. Is that when you actually launched the project, or when did you have a viable product out there?
So we launched the project in the fall of 2017, and still moving along, trying to define ourselves and see where we fit in and how everything was going to work. Things, as you know, at that time were getting pretty crazy in the cryptocurrency space, blockchain space. We went through all of that. That craziness brought a lot of scammers into the system, a lot of abusive users using bots to create accounts, and all of that we had to deal with. We did have to deal with hackers. We appear to have that under control now over the last 6 months or so. With the decline in the cryptocurrency markets, things are a bit more sane now, we're finding. We're seeing less craziness, less hype. And I think it's actually a good thing, because I found it such a waste of energy dealing with a lot of that stuff and trying to deal with people that were just, all they're interested in is when Moon and when Lambo, and those things drive me absolutely crazy.
Oh, it's like, I try to be as involved with our community as much as possible. So I spend a lot of time in our Telegram channels, and I tell people I am so excited about this crypto winter. This bear market is amazing. It's been such a breath of fresh air. One, as you know, as a project, and a lot of people who've never run a project, who've got lots of opinions, don't understand the extent of the scammers and hackers out there. And dealing with exchanges on top of that. And we've talked a little bit about that on the show in previous interviews, but one of the things that I've seen is that the number of times people have tried to scam us as a project, that people don't talk about it because they don't want, I think projects have a reservation about letting people know when people have attempted to scam them or try to hack them. But I think going forward, I'd like to see more people be honest about that and say, look, this is what's happening in this industry now, and maybe we could work together to clean it up a little bit. But I think one of the things that we were getting probably either a phishing scam or a spoof type scam. I think there was a lot of listing exchange scams that were out there. People pretending to be from exchanges that there weren't and things like that. And we were having one of those a week at least, over this last year up until about, I don't know. So when things started crashing, things chilled out. And I think the When Moon people are almost like the magnet for the scammers, because those are the people that are so desperate to try to get this, get rich overnight kind of thing, that they seem to be more susceptible to scammers. So when the When Moon people have either lost money or have just gone away, I think it's actually driven some of the scammers away too. What do you think?
I think that the less hype in general has, and then of course it's not as, should I say, lucrative for them maybe to be trying to scam, especially the smaller projects in the space. There could be many reasons for it. I'm just happy with where things are right now. We're able to concentrate on improving the projects, evolving, and building for the future when things start to turn around again. Like I say to my team on a regular basis, this is not an overnight thing, not likely to be an overnight success. It's probably a 3 to 5 year thing before what am I looking for? Established.
You make it.
Before we're established, right? And then before we're actually generating a profit. So.
And I think I've been telling people 2 years. I said that don't expect much to happen for 2 years as far as, we're going to be this, top 100 coin. And to me, those aren't even really the most important metrics. And one of the focuses with our Project Tusk, we're saying is it's going to be the number of one-on-one business relationships we have with people adopting our crypto in our target market. And so to me, that's our metric. And it's nice to be able to say, hey, you're a top whatever coin, or your market cap is blah blah blah, and those things are fun and those are nice, and sure, who wouldn't want to be a multimillionaire, right? I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't want that at some level, at least to be financially secure. But I think if I have a long-term view, and the way we've structured our project is we have virtually no overhead. And so we are a community-driven project. And so we can last as long as we need to. We're not racing a burn rate or, an ICO raise to the bottom. And I see that happening now, like just in the last 3 days, I've seen 2 major projects that one was a top 30 coin. I'm not going to name names, but they're like officially bankrupt or almost bankrupt. And then obviously the consensus is, cutting dramatically back. So I think it's interesting seeing what's going to happen. And I predict over the next 12 to 18 months that crypto is going to be rough. I don't think we're out of this bear market by any stretch. And what I think, this is my crystal ball, and I don't have timelines. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I think is going to happen going forward is that because of all the SEC enforcement on all these illegal ICOs, they're going to start, I think a couple things are going to happen over the next year. A lot of the bad ideas, you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, right? And I think there's so many ideas that were just bad. Like just, it's like, let's put Uber on blockchain, and it's like, just adding blockchain to some ideas doesn't necessarily improve that business idea. So you have a lot of that, I'm just trying to do a quick raise and make a quick buck by adding blockchain to whatever I want to do. I think those are going to die. I think what you're going to have is you're going to have a lot of the ICOs that may have been legitimate projects, but they weren't good with their money and they're burning through it. And they didn't, and this is what I can't believe that there's so many of these projects kept all their ICO raises in crypto instead of cashing it out or cashing some of it out. And to me, that doesn't make any sense because, and I understand why they did it, because I think if people cashed out their ICO money from their crypto, they would have been called, oh, you don't believe in the process or project or whatever, or crypto. But I think putting that money in dollars would have been it's more stable. Let's just be honest with it. If you're fun, I mean, if you're using it as a revenue thing, right, to grow your business, I think they should have cashed at least a good chunk of it out for a year or two. And then I think the other thing is that the SEC, the American Securities Exchange Commission, has over 2,000 investigations ongoing right now into the all the illegal ICOs. And so they're just getting through that pile. And so I think all those factors over the next 12 to 18 months are I think it's gonna scare a lot of people out of the market. But I think at the end of that, when we get through that tunnel, when we get through that storm, I think the projects that are legitimate, that have customers, are going to be some of the most prosperous crypto companies in the world.
I do agree. That's what I keep relaying to my team, our brand ambassadors worldwide, is that, you know, if we can make it through, I mean, I'm not saying I'm optimistic, but, you know, a certain number of projects are going to fail. And I believe the ones that are able to establish themselves now and continue moving forward and continue evolving and continue building their customer base, those are the ones that are going to, even if they've only got a small share of the global market, it's still a pretty good thing, I think, if you can make it through.
Well, I agree. And I think, you know, look at it, or the Holy Grail, you're not really doing cryptos as a payment scenario like we are. But if you look at the Holy Grail app is, you know, trying to replace fiat currency in some form with crypto. No crypto has that market at all. Nobody's really buying and selling goods and services with crypto yet. And so if that's the Holy Grail app and that's the target market, no one's even there yet. We're so early if that's gonna happen. You know, this mass adoption, this unicorn of mass adoption doesn't exist yet. And I think the companies that, or the projects, and I just think of startups as companies, but, you know, the projects out there that are focusing on that effort, if they get some share of some vertical that actually embraces their crypto, those are going to be the winners. And I'm a heretic. I don't think Bitcoin's going to always maintain its dominance. I just don't see that happening long term, but everybody likes to throw eggs when I say that.
No, I do see another cryptocurrency overtaking Bitcoin at some point. I do believe that. Time will tell, but yeah.
I think it's going to be a bunch of them, and this is why. This is my take. I think the winning cryptos are going to be the ones that are the best marketed, and Bitcoin doesn't have a marketing team, so let's just start there. You know, and I think it is that simple. And you look at a lot of if you ever go to the top, you know, look at the top 50 projects on, you know, any of the main trackers out there, and then go look at the team pages, and almost none of those projects have sales, business development, or marketing people on their teams. There's just a serious vacuum of business people on these big crypto projects. So to me, I'm an entrepreneur, but I've done a lot of sales and marketing in my life and in my career. And it's like, to me, it's like, unfortunately, the best technologies aren't always the ones that win. It's the ones that are the best marketed. And to me, Bitcoin may be the best crypto. I mean, there's some arguments that it isn't or has some drawbacks, and we're not going to hash all those out here. But to me, it seems like you know, just because it might be the best tech, if it was, doesn't mean it's going to be the dominant player, because I think the better marketed projects and the people that actually get some actual customers and users are going to be the winners long term. Now, I don't know how long that takes or anything like that. I don't make those kind of predictions, but I think I just think that, you know, it's like kind of saying, look at Linux, right? Linux now owns the Apache web server, owns, you know, the web server market. But let's talk about Linux desktop. You know, it doesn't have any market share, and for similar reasons. It's complicated to use. It's not user friendly. It's like an open source thing. So there's really, you know, there's only a couple flavors that actually had like professional teams behind them, but they just never got anywhere. It just wasn't well marketed for the mass adoption. And I think, you know, crypto could go either way. I think so, you know, there's going to be a Microsoft Windows version of crypto payments out there, and maybe that's XRP, maybe it's something else, maybe it's Tusk. I don't know. I mean, but I think the open source volunteer, no team, no structure, no strategy of like a project like Bitcoin, I just don't see that being the dominant player forever. I could be wrong, but I think there's some serious obstacles for that.
Yeah. And you know, I think I did see an interesting presentation about a year ago from the CEO of Bancor. where I think she coined the term money 3.0. And what she envisioned is much along the lines of what I envision is this melting pot of various cryptocurrencies that are exchanged amongst each other, and they're backed by their communities. And you may not have you may have a few more dominant players, but there will be many players, many different communities backing these things, and there should be, I think, fairly dynamic or fluid exchange between them. And they might come to your project for a particular reason, might exchange some of their Ethereum or Bitcoin to obtain Tusk for what you offer, the services that you offer, or vice versa for the services that we offer or that our vendors offer, right? And I think that being relatively fluid is important. Now, that said, Bancor only lists Ethereum or ERC20 tokens, so they're already limiting themselves. Hopefully with their $150 million, they're able to do more than that in the future.
I agree with you. I think the future, if I had to, just speculate, I think it's going to be a bunch of cryptos. And I believe between the atomic swapping, I think you coined it correctly, fluid. They're going to be fluid transfers from one another. And I think that makes more sense if you think about it. A lot of these, Bitcoin maximalists out there, they're like one crypto for the planet. And to me, that makes no sense, right? Mm-hmm. Because that misses one of the biggest benefits of crypto is that you can tailor a crypto for a specific purpose, region, country, company, location. Somebody should be the crypto for the ski industry or maybe the hotel industry. And then you can create, different features and functionality within crypto that serves that community. We're trying to be the crypto for the gun industry. Okay, that's our niche, right? I'm not trying to, and I tell people, I'm not competing with Bitcoin. I'm competing with Visa, and I'm competing for Visa in one market, and that's it. And if I get 1% of that market, our project will be very successful. And so, yes, to me, that's how I look at it. And I think a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists and let's call them, they're activists, right? And they're very passionate about their project. And Bitcoin was a proof of concept, but the thing is, I think it's dangerous to want to have one crypto for the whole planet, because to me, now you have one central point of failure for one network. And if all the bad actors in the world want to take that one down, you plummet the whole world into chaos all at one time. Whereas I think if you had hundreds of cryptos that all just atomic swapped, like hundreds of different decentralized chains, that's a way more robust and secure economic system if you're going to go to digital. And to me, I would prefer that, because I think it would actually be safer and more secure long term.
It would be, yeah, absolutely. Agree.
So we're getting in the weeds. So let's get back into Action Coin. So you're like a cross between Groupon and you deal with, kind of like the Miles rewards. So tell me where you guys are. So with your Milestones, what kind of achievements, do you have any partnerships? How is it being received?
Like I said, we started about 20 months ago. We went through a real crazy phase where we were being abused by hundreds of thousands of users, bots and whatnot. Things have settled down. We now have a marketplace up and running with just over 1,000 vendors in approximately 26 countries.
Wow.
Offering discounts on anywhere from 10% to 100% discount on products or services. We span all categories at this time. I decided initially I was going to focus on adventure, action and adventure, or adventure tourism. And then I realized that the vendors that were coming to our door they spanned every industry. So I thought, well, at this time, let's see where this goes. So we didn't limit the vendors. They do literally span every sector. And then over time, we will decide what we want to focus on more. I still think that tourism and travel is a good market to focus on. And we do have quite a bit of that, hotels, deals on tours, outdoor adventure, related products. And a lot like Groupon when I really look at it.
That's really awesome. So you guys are an ERC20 token then, and you're based on Ethereum?
We are not. No, we are
Oh,
based on NXT. We have our own global blockchain network.
oh, fantastic.
We've established nodes on 5 continents using Google Cloud Services. So we're able to establish nodes within their data centers worldwide. That gives us a number of advantages. Number one, low transaction fees. Number one, no congestion, or number two, no congestion on the network. It's completely dedicated to us at this time. We are the primary coin on that blockchain. We are able to host other coin or other tokens on our blockchain, and of course, those tokens can be exchanged for Action Coin.
What's your consensus? What's your consensus mechanism?
It is proof of stake. Yeah, it's and that's another thing that I really like about NXT. While it's not as well received in the cryptocurrency or as a crypto or blockchain, I should say, it requires very little power to run a network. So you can literally run a node on a Raspberry Pi.
Nice.
As long as you have a balance that's large enough to support forging. Unfortunately, it does take approximately 20 to 30% of the all available coins to run the network smoothly. So to get into forging on our blockchain at this time is quite a significant undertaking. You need probably 100 million plus coins to earn a percentage of the transaction fees.
So a forge, and that's like basically what an equivalent of a miner then, as like kind of proof of work stake or proof of work blockchain.
Proof of stake, yeah. So the amount of forging power that you have is based on your account balance.
So we actually are going to a DPoS, delegated proof of stake, for our blockchain as well. And so it's definitely been interesting going from a token on Ethereum and going through and launching a whole blockchain. It's a whole different animal. I kind of tell the crew that we're going to learn to do everything in blockchain by the time we're done, because we are doing everything between creating dApps and things on top of that, because we have to create a dApp and a wallet and create a dApp just to convert the token. So that's kind of complicated. So launching and then recruiting block in ours, we're basically copying BitShear's, which is, graphene based. It's, like, EOS and MIOTA and all those guys. But it's you have to recruit block producers and things to run the network. And it's interesting because even just when you're doing a community project, I mean, trying to just get the developers on board and get the block producers on board, there's so many pieces to developing these projects. That it's amazing to me that people think, oh yeah, I can just fork it, no problem. I'm like, no, it's a lot of work. It really is. So I like your brand ambassador program. We actually have started our own ambassador program, and we got 4 countries up and 3 more coming online already. We just started this a couple weeks ago. So we too are building our kind of worldwide grassroots community project, membership base. So you said you had 1,000 vendors in your, currently. How are you getting the vendors involved? I mean, do you have like a marketing team or a sales team that's out there recruiting, or are they coming to you, or what's your trick?
So we have just about 100 brand ambassadors in 50 plus countries, and their job is they're on the ground in their countries, in their cities. Their job is to go and introduce us to vendors, explain how Action Coin works, help onboard them onto the platform, into the marketplace, help them get their offers up for our users. Those brand ambassadors are paid in Action Coin. They receive a bounty every month in Action Coin, and we do track their performance. We provide them with marketing materials, PowerPoint presentation for vendors, a list of vendor benefits, business cards, and that sort of thing.
Nice. Wonderful. So, well, I'm real excited about you guys doing your thing and being successful. And, you know, I really do wish you guys, you know, all the best in success and, you know, keep fighting. I mean, I think this industry is amazing and you are doing what I think crypto should do. You're picking a market and you're tailoring crypto for that market. I like the idea of the tokens, you know, because, you know, the airline miles are kind of a scam. You know, they expire and there's so many games they play with those things that having like an alternative where you can take those miles and trade them and you know, convert them, cash them in for currency if you want. To me, that's going to take time in the airline industry to get adoption there, but I think that's where it's going to go. You know, and I think that what you're doing makes a lot of sense. And I think you keep it up. And when we come out of this market, you know, downturn over the next, you know, year and a half or so, I think you guys have a good chance of being successful. And so
fairly well.
Well, where can people find out more?
So they can visit our website at actioncoin.com. We also have fairly robust following on Twitter, on Facebook. We have a good Telegram channel and up and coming Instagram that's growing. We've got quite a few followers on there. Surprisingly, and this is not typical for a lot of cryptocurrency projects, our biggest following or our biggest fan base is on Facebook with just over 30,000 followers.
Wow, that's a lot.
And all of our followers are completely organic. They're legit. I mean, I haven't used an app to try and figure out if there's any fake ones in there, but you know, we didn't pay anybody to generate fans for us. They're, as far as we're concerned, we have just over 60,000 real followers.
That's great. Okay, well, Nick, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for your time, Rob, and best of luck with your project as well. It's quite interesting. I've done a little bit of reading about it, and it looks like you guys are making some good moves there.
I certainly hope so. But we're in it for the long haul. So I think that's the important thing. All right, brother. Absolutely. Good luck. We'll see you later.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Rob McNealy program. Make sure you check us out on the web at robmcnealy.com and subscribe to our podcast at YouTube, iTunes, and on the Google Play Store.